Hello, this is Alexander Norton from the Piña, and we're just with Ben Gore.
Hi.
Doing a little podcast about the new Goodbye Blue Monday project that he's currentely working on, which will be launched on the 21st of July in Doom Gallery. So basically that's a date to keep in your calendars, and also follow Ben's website and whatnot, but we'll be going into those details at the end. But it's also very for pre-order, but we'll put all links up and whatnot. So hello Ben. How
Hi.
you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. pretty good. Okay, so I mean, I was wondering if you're able to just quickly discuss a little bit about the loose themes and the work, and then we can go into those strands a little bit in more detail.
Okay, cool. So, Goodbye Blue Monday is my newest project. It's basically a sequel to the project I released last year, which is called Second Adolescence.
Mm-hmm.
That project looked more at, I guess, the first stage of entering adulthood, like that transition from youth to adulthood. And Second Adolescence is, the title itself is about, when you first start adolescence, everything's new to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of finding your feet in the world of being more grown up than you used to be. And Second Adolescence is kind of that second big jump into proper adulthood, like entering the working world and like leaving school or uni, and how you kind of adjust to that. But Goodbye Monday is like the second step from that, so it's like my first full steps in like adulthood kind of thing, and it's a lot of like trying to become more mature and looking at the world around you, and just trying to make sense of it, I guess, and from like a more mature perspective than Second Adolescence was.
Was that because that was? I remember looking at that a lot, and obviously I did a couple of things about just little articles around it, and that gave me an opportunity to really look into what it was all about. Because when I looked at that, I saw instantly my whole youth, my whole adolescence, and those two things, and I felt like you'd captured this kind of sense of being young, but from every angle. It wasn't like an exclusive club; it was just everyone's club, and it was just like this is everybody's life. But it was very obviously then a personal replica for you, so you can recall it. But I think this is the way that I sort of look at it and read it. It feels very organic, and it's very like it's the purest form of what photography should be. It's just the love of seeing, and that's so rare these days. We're always thinking about every little strand. We stop taking pictures now because of this, because we know but it doesn't fit my plan. It's very much like okay, I'm ready for the world. What have you got for me? Let's have a look.
Yeah, well, the way I like shooting photos is, it's like that thing of like, it's like capturing moments, isn't it? Like, and with Second Adolescence stuff, I didn't shoot with that project being in mind. It was just I wanted to shoot the stuff around me that I thought was interesting, and like I guess looked interesting as well. That's why I used photography. And yeah, so I didn't go into the project with that in mind, but like, it's just, when I look back at the photos, that was the story that I'd ended up telling.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like I really want to be relatable. Like, so all the kind of experiences of youth, there's always like tropes. There's always, everyone kind of goes through the same kind of things. Like especially in England, like that turning 18 and getting really drunk for the first time, and like.
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing how far you can push it as well, I guess. Like you get all this freedom, and then you're like, "Whoa,
it's too
want
much.
to do everything," kind of thing.
And then you just explode into a big goo ball.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's kind of if we look at Second Adolescence, and it says, I mean, there was an image, and it was of this image, and this was the main one that I wrote from because I was looking at it. It was just it epitomised everything that I would see as that's like when I look at that I see a dream, and that's like you want to be around that. It's got that sense of feeling, and whether that's through I don't know the kind of the it's intriguing, but also there's a sense of attractiveness there as well. But obviously, and also because the face is covered, I don't know who that is. So obviously, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh no, what if that's your girlfriend? And I can't say that. But then it's also, I love that little different the mix and eclectic mix of that. But again, the moments like where very intimate, close moments. It's very much like it just feels like it's what you're seeing. Whereas I think Goodbye by Monday is very much more observing, and it's very much more. It's almost the ideas have become simpler. The pictures have become more focused around, or it's very wholesome the way that the images sit in the centre of the frame and the picture and the dogs and there's a certain light to it, and that really kind of, and even like what the Anarchy is Love one, this one here, it's kind of got elements of what will be considered like, I don't know, like a kind of almost like a snapshot, but it's got these other elements of, it's about the engagement, and it's about the engagement with her, with you, and also you can see that everything is almost like becoming, you can see people are getting older, but ideas are evolving, so, and I think the way you're looking at things is changing, naturally, because you've made a big step into freelance this year. And that's obviously going to change massively what you're doing.
There's definitely, because I went freelance, I think around July of last year. So there's definitely there's a big step, like maturity wise, when you've got to handle all your time and all your money and plan ahead, and it made me very grown up quite quickly, because you realise like your time is your own, and you can fuck around with it, or you can really like plan and work hard at something, and it's all on you essentially when you're freelance. Like when you work at a job, I mean, you can do good or bad, but essentially you get paid to be there for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But with this stuff, there's not that element. It's all whatever you can only make money off what you've made or the work you've done, and that's not a regular thing. You've got to be the one who instigates it and gets it done, and then gets paid essentially. But yeah, this is like Goodbye Monday. There's definitely a big jump between this and Second Adolescence. It's a very, very different project, and a lot about I guess mortality comes into it a little bit. It's a bit of like looking at life and death and how people like live, and like these symbols, essentially that comes through in like the symbols that I found when like these photos. None of this is like pose, it's all just stuff I found when I've been out and about and kept my camera on me. So it's more like these symbols that jumped out to me. So it's a lot about like age and stuff, and
it's that idea of like mortality is almost like, I get the feeling that you're becoming more self-aware as a person, like we all are every day that we go out and do something. We're always becoming so much more self-aware, but in this instance there's a visual representation of this, because you're responding in the same way and the same people come up, but then it evolves. It's like there's a photographer, oh gosh, I know his name, did the series Roof on the Phone.
I don't think I know it.
Got his book down there. Not Stephen Gill. I'll find it now for you. But Roof on the Phone, and basically what it is, he photographed his wife called Ruth, and it should come up. And he just photographed it over years. It was like 5 or 6 years of that. And that's what I get the sense that Nigel Shafran, that's it. He's really, really interesting as well. He's definitely worth a look. We can always put a link to the people we've discussed as well, because that's quite interesting. But the actual idea was very much just following his wife on the phone every time, maybe when they weren't going out, and you see their sense of surroundings. The reason why I bring it up is because I see quite a lot of this in the way you interact with, obviously, your girlfriend in this situation, and it feels very like, you know what I mean? It just feels very organic, and the way it's just like you're both going through the same stage,
Yeah, definitely. We're like,
just different things.
I guess, on the same journey together. Although we do very different things, but yeah, it's definitely, we're like very intimate. So it's just capturing those moments is pretty nice, and also obviously I get to keep that. Like taking a photo of that moment is like I get to keep that moment forever, which is really nice.
We like if you look at is that an otter? Is that?
Yeah, it's an otter.
There's something in the eyes, but obviously that's obviously not your hand. I think it's too small to be your hand. But
yeah, that photo was basically a small child at a zoo.
Oh, okay. But yeah, no, and it's quite amazing because the reflection in there, and actually, it's that weird connection that you would never have thought would even happen. That's almost like you couldn't even dream that happening. But the way it's recorded, it feels like a casual observation, as if it's nothing. But it's actually probably the most beautiful thing you could see for, I don't know, like until the next beautiful thing. You know what I mean? It's just like an amazing, beautiful moment. As you say, it stays with you forever, though, and I've noticed that very much. Like, this is why I'm actually very intrigued about this series, because it's this permanent collection of these images of a person on the phone, and you see her evolve, and you see her change, and you see their flats get nicer or worse, or where they are, what type of phones they're using, and it's very bizarre the way it works. But again, these projects work over time, and that's the feeling I get when I look at what you're doing, is that you could be doing this for years. You could just do it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do. To be honest, I've been doing, like, before Second Lessons, I've been making zines for 4 years maybe, and all of those were kind of how I got started doing, like, essentially like stories, like autobiographical documentary, usually with some kind of underlying theme. And yeah, it's just what I'm interested. I like seeing that evolution over time, and also like having a whole project to look back on as a certain period. And yeah, there's a project I did when I was at uni, which basically my mum passed away when I was at uni, and then I took this photo series of my family moving out of my like family home, essentially. And basically what that was, it was a little zine. One side of the page would be like the room as it was, and like as it was when it was like a family home kind of thing, and the other side of the page would be like the emptied room. So it's kind of like all this stuff that you put into your house, like mementos of your life essentially, or like the family's life, and then how kind of the family home is just like a shell without that. Yeah, so like doing those kind of projects, it's always the aspect of time, and also like story, like how stories change over time, and like yeah, it's always been something that I've really been interested in.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's not really the same situation, but a similar kind of location change in that my parents moved, and I can't relate to the new house at all. I just don't really understand. But my parents, with my mum, moved with her partner now, so it's yeah. So basically, it's very bizarre, that sense of I go home and it's not my home anymore. I don't live there. And that's that idea. It relates to towns as well. If you think, Brighton at the moment, for a lot of us, is like a family circle and everyone's around. But what happens in 10 years when everyone isn't here, or let's say if everyone's all moved to a different city, then that then becomes home. So then actually what you're actually discussing in a lot of your work, and your previous work as well, is actually the search for home. That's what I feel like when I'm looking at it. Because these people that come along, burnt myself. You're searching for things, but you don't know you're searching. You're just doing it because it's so natural for what you're doing. Like, and this is Daydream mixtape as well, which is actually it might be worth discussing this actually, because did this instigate or influence your new recent work, or was this done way before?
This was done. So I did this. This was basically because Second Lessons had quite a clear story, and it was quite a big book. So I think it was like 72 pages maybe.
You've got one here actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
It's in the library.
Sick. But yeah, DJ Mixtape was basically the offcuts from Second Adolescence. So yeah, I basically edited together the story of Second Adolescence, and then there were photos I still really liked.
Mm-hmm.
So that turned into this other zine, DJ Mixtape, which is like yeah, it's less of like a story, but it's still these like moments like.
Well, they're well, I mean, obviously it's an obvious thing, but they're black and white, and that's quite a big change in obviously the way you shot before. And that's something I'm quite curious about, because it's almost an obvious question. Why did you shoot black and white? But in this instance, I know why, but I'm also curious to hear your thoughts on how it feels to shoot black and white in that instance, or change it to black and white if you did indeed.
Okay, yeah, I changed it basically because I shot everything. Yeah. I shoot everything in colour because
I'd
sense, rather. Well, yeah, basically I'd rather have colour and then turn it to black and white. Whereas you can't turn black and white to colour, kind of thing.
Definitely, unless you're using film, it's kind of pointless, really, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, it's just for one, it's actually like because I firstly like zines are classically a lot of them are kind of classically black and white, like photocopy style.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that aspect. And also, I was releasing the book, which was already quite expensive. I still wanted to release these photos. Black and white was like a cheap way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And also all the ones I chose were very, just the way they were already quite high contrast, so I thought it would kind of add a lot to the photos themselves. Like all the ones I picked, there's quite strong blacks and quite strong whites. And it was quite nice to not have the colour in. It seemed like it gave them like a little bit extra.
It almost feels like they've become more almost a thing of like they feel like more cemented in the past, whereas colour still has ideas of the present and it still feels fleeting. But if you put something black and white, it feels final. And but also I think what it does is it goes past that first layer of your brain and goes into your subconscious. And when you look at these pictures, you go, right, I'm now in almost the thought or the mind of the photographer instead of being on the immediate eyes of the photographer, so you can transcend from your eyes to the brain, and that may be a bit of a a bit of a descent from the point, but it does feel very much like these are just pure memories, and these ones are a lot more solid. But what's interesting is they were the ones that didn't make the initial story. So it's like then I'm quite curious to see how do you feel towards these pictures now, when you look in relation to the recent stuff as well, Goodbye Every Monday as well. I mean, do these give you any? I don't know.
I'd say these are kind of I guess they could be kind of a bridge, because Second Adolescence was very much a concrete thing of like youth. Mm-hmm. These ones weren't as really, the digital mixtape stuff wasn't really as tethered to anything. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But looking at them now, I can kind of see the way I've edited the new zine and stuff, and kind of the themes. You can see like very similar elements, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I did edit DJ Mixtape after doing Second Adolescence, because obviously it was offcuts.
Oh, okay.
So this is essentially the thing I did in this kind of style most recently before Goodbye Big Monday. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was just looking at the picture of Gons. That is definitely Gons, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Gons.
That's my cat. And we haven't discussed Gons half as much as we should do, but we will. Don't worry. But obviously, Stay Young is quite a big company, isn't it? A big organisation. But what I liked about this and the way that you have used text in the past is that usually text would take away from the actual feeling of the photograph, but in this instance, what it's doing is it's using everyday references that you've naturally gathered and collected, and they're just part of your natural environment. So actually, without realising it, you're decorating your space to be aesthetic, and then that then reflects on the environment around you. So that means you can then get these messages where it says "Stay Young" and Polar there, but that "Stay Young" is so prominent and it changes everything in the photograph. So what's quite interesting is your life is actually reflected in the messages that you put across. And obviously, in that instance, because what were you photographing Gons, or did you have a mind of that in there? Oh no,
that's just a snapshot essentially. Like I don't really plan anything. Like it's just trying to keep your camera ready, and then if you see something, if something like my kind of motto is if you see something and it catches your eye, you've got to take a photo of it because you just don't really know. Like, missing photos, like, is the worst thing. And the way I shoot and stuff is, I'll shoot loads and I get kind of bored of it and I need to take some space from it and I'll do drawing or whatever. And the way I know to start photographing again is because I'll like walk past something on the street or something and it'll catch my eye. I do it with my camera and I'm like, fuck, that would have been such a good photo, but I've missed it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to make that mistake again.
Yeah.
But yeah, with like having the Stay Young sticker and stuff, like every person, well, I guess art-wise anyway, it's like you're kind of the sum of your influences. It's like making a massive stew of everything you like. And then you kind of eat that, and whatever comes out of you is always influenced by all that stuff you've taken in. And yeah, with the thing of like all the stuff I surround myself in my room and stuff, that was part of that as well, was because I'd moved around a lot, so I hadn't really had like a home, a bedroom anyway, that had really felt like my own space. So when I finally, like, I let this flat and got this room, I just like exploded. There was all this stuff I wanted to be surrounded by all this stuff that I couldn't have on my walls before. So I literally filled every single wall with like frames and like stickers all over my chest of drawers and stuff. It was just a way to be like, I just wanted to be surrounded by all the stuff I love, to kind of like nourish me, like nourish my eyes essentially, if you know what I mean. Like, I
mean, that's quite interesting because that leads me to think a little bit about your influences, because looking at the influences and knowing the influences you've got, like in skate brands and hip hop and stuff like that, it's not the conventional way of approaching photography in that sense, because what you've done is you'll surround yourself with something like illustration, which is very like fluid and it's very much creative in terms of creation in your mind. Whereas photography is very literal, isn't it? It's very much, you can add the little extra element of magic, but you're still recording a reality. So I'm quite curious to see how you feel like how illustration has that ultimately influenced the way you photograph, because I think that's you naturally surround yourself with that. And illustration and photography go hand in hand, but in what you've done here is, I'm rambling, but it's...
No, I know what you mean. So yeah, illustration definitely does feed into how I think about photography. There's obviously just the balancing of stuff, like what you actually put on the paper, like how everything's laid out and what's in it and stuff. There's that, and then also, I guess, kind of style, like how different people draw. How people like having their own drawing style. I really like having my own photography style, which I think I've kind of got now. It took me a while to get there, but so that as well. And then also, I think it's that kind of thing where you always appreciate the thing that you can't do more. So I've always found photography more natural than drawing. Okay. So I can be more impressed with the drawing, I think, than with a photo, because I know I know how a photo was taken. And it's different when you think about like illustration and like the technique of taking a photo, ignoring all the settings and everything, is just clicking a button, whereas the technique of making a drawing involves all the materials and like...
And the process of actually...
Yeah, you've actually got to like sit down and draw it, whereas you can just find something and take a nice photo of it. So I think part of that as well, it's like how like a musician wants to be an artist, and artists want to be musicians. Like you get excited by a thing that you can't do because it's more interesting. I really love photography, but there's definitely that dynamic where when you can't do something, you're more excited to see it done really well, because it seems more difficult to you, if you know what I mean.
But definitely, I think that got me thinking a little bit about the idea of we're talking about photography. Yeah, basically, in the process of actually saying, well, how do we balance all of these? Because obviously, most people that I would actually know who study photography back at my old course, they're photography. That's it. They know it. They know everything about their subject, or they know that kind of thing. And if they were to do anything creative, it would be photography. Whereas it's kind of interesting how like we're both very similar actually in the sense of the way that we would approach it, because we both draw and we both take pictures. Whereas for me, photography was the most important thing for like 8 years or something like that, and for me now it's kind of taken a little drop off. And because I'm thinking, well, drawing's really good, and then drawing takes a drop off, and then you start thinking, well, actually, what other things am I doing? And then music takes a strand, and then even things like skateboarding, you then get into that, and then that interlinks with drawing, and it gets you drawing again. But then also then links off into actually then social experiments, social performance pieces, these kinds of things. And it's quite fascinating, that process. The second you leave university and you go, well, I can do anything because no one's expecting anything from me. No one is waiting. Well, and I think in your instance, people are waiting, but they don't realise they're waiting, because the new Ben Gore t-shirt, when's that coming out? It's almost like a new phrase, Ben Gore t-shirt, and it's like that's pretty much like, when's the next one? When's the next one? And that's like, and I think that's what's exciting, is that we're not just photographers, and I think that reflects on our work as well, because I think we look at things slightly differently, because we go, well, I don't need to use photography, I'm just using it at the moment, it's just a tool instead of being a subject. And this is what's so beautiful. But also, something I really like talking about and just thinking about is actually the difference between drawing and photography. Is obviously huge differences, but photography you don't realise, but you're actively going and sourcing new things, or you're going to another country just to take pictures, which is nuts, isn't it? Like, most of the time, if you walk around a city, you haven't got a camera, you're not a photographer, you just walk around, eat an ice cream, sit there, have a little coffee. You will run out of things to do, but if you're a photographer, you can do anything. And you're in the world, and you're engaging in the world, and you take a portrait of someone, have a drink with them, meet their friends, and all of a sudden, you're in the circle, and all because you're a photographer.
Yeah, definitely. There's like a magic, especially to go into a new city, and everything's so fresh, so you just take everything in more, like you're more aware of everything, whereas your everyday walk to work or walk somewhere you've been like 1,000 times, you're just looking towards to where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
You're like just essentially walking, waiting to get there. Whereas when you're in a completely new place, there's that magic of like, oh, I don't know what anything is.
Mm-hmm.
And you just, stuff sticks out to you more as well. And also because it's different to what you're used to.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's like a street sign's different, all of that in one big image that you're looking at, everything just kind of pops out more, I guess.
It doesn't. It's almost like you've got a whole different set of eyes to anyone else. Because I think my family know me as the person who photographs banana skins on the floor, and I think, well, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. And my mum's like, I don't understand half what you photograph. And I was like, neither do I. But it's quite interesting. You've got like just the way that you observe so much more. But I don't know if it's the same for you, but whenever I'm walking around with a camera, I almost feel like I'm scanning. I feel like the Terminator, and you're scanning, and you go, but you don't realise that your brain's just doing that. And if you've got a camera, you don't usually do it if you haven't got a camera on you, because if you know you can't record it. But even then, you're still always looking out for that picture, and that's the beauty about photography, is that it means that your awarenesses are tuned up, and like the otter, you're aware of incredible little moments, because it's almost like the decisive moment. But not in that traditional sense anymore. It's just more like sort of the wholesome, organic moment. It's the moment, like the way that you would think about the birds and how they're flying in the sky. You wouldn't just go, oh, done, see you later. You're thinking about that, and then if it's one out, or if that bird's moved slightly there, you're like, oh, next one. And that's what photography is about. I think my friend Florian Brackman, do you know Florian?
I don't think so.
His works, actually, you really love his work. I'll have to show you a book. Actually, I'll show you one here. And he's got a picture of a plane, and the two planes are kind of crossing over each other, and he's got the series that he's got like there, and just on their own, and he's just dispersed them throughout the book, and that's about love, I think, about his. There's an interview actually we in conversation with him ages ago, and he's a top bloke actually. I think we should get him involved with some kind of discussion, because he's really interesting. But yeah, and it's just, we can use these as techniques to get the logic going through the book, and you can you can use it as a tool. It's just like having your best picture, boom, or even like these ones, they interlink, and create something else. Even this little crevice is the picture of the your girlfriend in the middle, and then it's a multiple exposure, but I get the feeling that it feels like it's just, I feel like I just want to be there. I just want to sit there. You know what I mean? I feel like I want to see that. And like I just feel like, and I've said this many times, and the way you skate and stuff like that, it's just you bring happiness everywhere. You just don't know that you just light things up, and I think that comes through in your photographs. But it's a curious eye, but you're not critical in any way, and you're not. That's the thing. It's effortless. You don't even think about it.
Well, it's not. I mean, I take a lot of photos, so it's not.
Yeah.
But that's really nice of you to say. But
well, no, yeah.
It's like
yeah.
it's yeah. That's the way I like taking photos. This stuff has to intrigue me. Like if I'm interested in what's in the photo, that's how I know it's good. Like you want, I don't know. There's just like I'm a very curious person. I like figuring stuff out and like seeing. I'm always looking around to just see. I just want to see stuff that interests me and stuff that's a bit weird and like find stuff that you wouldn't usually see.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like the fun of photography is being able to save those stuff and like share it with people and be like, oh, look at this cool shit I saw. Or look at this like weird thing, or like stuff like like this photo where it's like there's like the painting of the glass and glass of water and the rose, and there's just like there's a weird balance to how I saw it. Like most of my photos are just like I'll walk past something and stop and then be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Like, how do I like look at it most? So I'll bob my head up and down or whatever to kind of figure out what's essentially the most interesting viewpoint. But with that, there was this weird like balance of like there's the painting and then the tire in the back of the van, the two yellow lines, and like the squished coffee cup and like the red 8. And it's all these just weird elements in this little frame, essentially.
But also, I think the important thing also is the red light in the back, because if you think the way that the image is working, so you kind of almost go around. So instead of these being in the way, they're very much just, they create this strange line, but then it almost feels like it could be a painting, because the way it is it's just kind of floating, because obviously you've got the element of painting in the middle. But it feels like, I feel like I'm snaking through. I feel like I can travel in that picture. So it's not, it doesn't just become a picture on a tyre, which is a lot of, you could argue, a lot of photography just says, look at this looks cool. What this is you're actually leading people in. And it's used as a visual, well, for me, it's especially with the book process, it's something I want to go on to actually, but you need these images because you need to be able to get the pairs, you need to be able to lead in. But you also need to prompt the viewer to change their thoughts and minds about what it... That's why the edit is so important. And the order. People always underestimate the order. That's like so important because that's everything.
Yeah, definitely.
You can have the best pictures in the world, but if you put your banger right in the middle or the beginning, you're like, the whole thing's gone. But it's so personal to everyone else. But when it's done, bang on, it's just like... And that's the thing. That's what I enjoy, especially about that. But I'm curious to know, like, how has that affected the way that you have edited the work with the book in mind?
Okay, well, the way I edit stuff is I essentially make I use Bridge and I'll make pretty much a playlist of all the photos I really like. And the photos like I'm intrigued by. And some I think like, oh, that's cool. And then with this book, for example, I had there's like 300 photos that I quite liked.
Okay, yeah.
And I basically just tinker with it. So I try and make, what I usually do is I try and make nice diptychs, so a nice spread of like 2 photos, see what works together, and then you've essentially got like, it's like a plot beat.
Yeah.
And you see how stuff should flow. Like what's the beginning, what's the end, what's the middle. And it's not like I do it very strictly, but I like... You want to like lead someone on a little journey. You don't want to have too many similar things clumped together. And yeah, it's trial and error, and I struggle quite a lot with. I've been So this book, some of the I think there might be one photo from just before I released Second Adolescence, so that's like around April or March last year. So it's about a year of photos.
Okay.
But it's that thing of like, you've got to condense this space of time into like what have you been thinking about in this space of time, and how do these all work together, and what do they say when they're put together?
But also, I suppose that then makes the first and the very last picture so important, because what you're saying is, this is where I've started and this is where I am at the moment. So it's almost like that last picture needs to be the end of the chapter. So then it's almost like the teaser trailer for the next one. And it's almost like, if you wanted to think of it like volumes, which it feels like volumes, obviously with the different names, Second Adolescence or Goodbye Blue Monday. Because also, I'm actually curious to ask about that actually. So the title, obviously Goodbye Blue Monday, obviously Blue Monday is your, the company that you're running at the moment, and illustrations and drawings and badges and the tarot cards, which we can go into as well, if we need to. But Goodbye Blue Monday, what is that? Because obviously when I see that, as like, are you saying goodbye to that? Which you're clearly not, obviously, but it's curious. I'm curious how that works.
I mean, there's quite a few different things in the title. The first most obvious one that I took it from is one of my favourite authors, Kurt Vonnegut.
Okay, yeah.
And he's got a book called Breakfast of Champions,
Mm-hmm.
and the Goodbye Blue Monday thing comes from that.
Okay.
There's like a story about, I think it's like a World War II pilot,
Okay.
and he gets to write something on a bomb, and he writes Goodbye Blue Monday. And there's like a little drawing of it as well in the book, which I'd recommend you should read Breakfast of Champions and read lots of Kurt Vonnegut, because he's a really fun writer to read, and just really cool, good stories. It's funny. But yeah, so that's where that originally came from. Then there's also the main other bit is that Blue Monday as a thing is like the worst day of the working week, like after the weekend. So Goodbye Blue Monday is kind of like goodbye to working 9 to 5 kind of thing. So now I'm free. That was kind of a little reference to like being freelance. So I don't really have Blue Mondays as much, because I'm doing what I want all the time.
And potentially every day is a Blue Monday if you've got the wrong day.
Yeah,
and it's also you could have a Blue Friday if you wanted to.
Yeah,
as
definitely.
Well, and that's the beauty of it. You've got freedom.
Yeah, and there's also part of that as well is, like, I've had issues with depression in the past. It's something that crops up every now and again. But essentially, Goodbye Blue Monday is like goodbye to those feelings as well. It's like kind of like a wish as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, I guess there's maybe subtle hints throughout the book about that, but
well, I mean, because that's something I'm curious to touch on as well, myself as well, as we've discussed. But this fella here, it's obviously a train dummy, isn't it? It's not a person.
Yeah.
But it's got elements of artificialness, but that's kind of such a strong message to put there, and also then the plastic hand, so you've kind of got this artificial life, and the hand is behind the glass. It's like, I can't get there. It's like a dog. It's like a dog in the office trying to get out the door when you've closed it, or trying to get in, looking in. So I want to be there. It's just almost like there's such an idea of death, and obviously then the hearse and stuff like that. And obviously, and it's quite interesting that you said like this was like saying goodbye to it all, because I've had a similar thing, but it's come through music, and it was my song "The Spirits." Have you heard it?
Yeah, The Spirits Have Got Me.
That one is the one I just said, no way, sack off depression. What am I doing? I've got a life to lead. And ever since I've had that sort of like that bit, almost was it audio representation of it, and in your instance visual representation of it, it's very bizarre, because instantly you look at things completely differently. You talk to that bloke in Subway for 10 minutes, even if he doesn't want to hear what you have to say. You think, well, why not? Who cares anyway? I'm probably not going to see you for a while, and I haven't been rude, so it's fine. And that's I can get that feeling, because I've had exactly the same feeling. It's triumphant, isn't it? You just
it's nice. It's It's one of those. It's like, it's once you like you. I mean, you're gonna have those bad things anyway, but it's trying to like handle it the best you can. And yeah, the expression "Goodbye Blue Monday." It's for me. It like represents that like fuck off to these feelings. Do you know what I mean? Like,
It's because you become aware of them and you know what they are and you know what it's linked to, so you know it's then something you can control. And I think that's what helped me. I don't know if it's the same in your instance, but the second I realised what it was, I was like, well, it's not a problem, because now I know I can control it. Because all you need to do is think about something else or go outside. And that's the thing. But at the moment, it's very different though. It's very different when you're in that sort of moment. It consumes you completely.
Yeah, definitely. There's like a smog. The way I describe like the onset and how it can be is it's like the weather. So sometimes it's a nice sunny day, and then out of nowhere it's fucking stormy, and it just like how if you want to do stuff outside, the weather can just completely fuck it. That can sometimes be just life. Like it feels like everything's being rained on.
Yeah. Well, no, it definitely does. I mean, I was curious just to show you actually, just because, well, actually, I've been doing quite a lot of stuff about depression on here actually, but I just haven't really posted it on social media because I'm just like, I don't really want to like put around there I'm depressed. I just wanted to know it was there somewhere, and if someone wanted to access it, then they could do if they wanted to. And that's the way I've been approaching a lot of things. I've been publishing a lot of stuff recently that got me into trouble with my parents. It was about that idea I told you, was it last time? That whole idea of like gender issues and whatnot.
Okay, remind me, because I can't remember exactly what you said.
It was basically the idea of like actually tackling what gender inequality, and by showing people that actually it's just about layers that will make you treat someone differently. So the idea is that you could put yourself in a position with these layers on, and then people would then converse to you as if they would be responding to the layers that you've put on, but actually, physiologically. So yeah, something like that. Physiologically, you're not what you're representing, and I think what I really want to do is actually break that down and actually go, well, actually, we're being really stupid here. Gender inequality is actually shouldn't even have been thought of, because there's no excuse for it. There's no difference, and that's what I wanted to say by completely dismantling yourself into something else in front of people. So then that's taken obviously performance elements, and that's what I was doing. I've been doing loads of pictures recently, so these aren't that easy to look at all the time, but they're very much reflections. So for example, I'm trying to think, I'll show you a picture from, so for example this, if you look at this person now, I don't recognise that person. I'm looking at that person, I don't recognise him. I'm like, who is that? You know what I mean? This was at my lowest point. So you can see I had my rubbish little shitty moustache that I was growing. Obviously my hair was all over the place, I just did whatever I wanted to it. But it's just, for me, I love having a documentation of this, because I know what it looks like. I know that's what it feels like, and I can look at that and go back to those memories. But as you go on, obviously, then everyone looks different at different points, but different points throughout the day, and that was the idea. And I think this was the last one. And then I went and did the Manchester Marathon. This was the day after the Manchester Marathon. I just literally woke up, and I literally felt like a different person. Everything looked different. My face felt different. It was my mentality that was different, and that's the difference. And then instantly, I felt like...
Yeah, you can see the change from you being... I don't know, the way I describe it is like... With the earlier ones you showed me, you look quite exposed, I guess. And they're quite like delicate, I guess. And then the later ones, you seem more happy. Just from like the way your body is and the way your face, like there's more of like a smile, like a little grin in the later ones, whereas these ones are just like that's obviously like 3 a.m, you know, like, but that was the idea. Don't care what you look like, just take a picture anyway. And there was actually, I wanted to show you one little section, because this explains, this was my lowest point. So I got back, and I just had a really weird day. I don't know what was going on. I had this picture, and I was just like, I just
didn't know what was wrong with me. And I had a different room set up, so where we're sat now was over here. So it's kind of, I've moved everything around. But I was there, and then that was after, and then slightly after, and I went for a run, and that was what it was. But what I found fascinating, just look at that face into that.
Yeah.
It's completely different. It's a different person, because I think naturally, probably because you ran, you probably like, your face is a bit more like, I don't know, like it just feels less, it just feels smaller. It feels like you probably, that's the thing, I lose weight really quickly, but I put it on really quickly, so it's like, I can, yeah, my face feels it. If I go for a 30-mile run, my face is smaller, which is crazy to think. Or maybe it's mental, I don't know. But as it went on, it was just like, you could see that, it was strange like how hair has a big difference on your appearance. But that was the idea, and then all of a sudden, woke up, Monday morning, had Monday and Tuesday off, and that happened, and all of a sudden, I felt like a different person. Obviously, at different points in the morning you look really shit and stuff like that, but it's okay, you know. But then these pictures also explain some of the ideas where I'm actually trying to understand what is a feminine role, because obviously I think that's what you need to then understand all of that when you're taking on a project like this. So you can kind of see it gradually starts, because I'm just trying to take that on board really. And I think that's very much reflected in this one, for example, where instantly that picture's completely different. And I'm actually a little bit embarrassed sometimes. This was my homepage at one point. But if people saw this, I'd be like, I'm not sure if I want people to see it, because there's nothing wrong with it, but it's quite exposed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. There's like it's really like delicate. You seem quite, I guess, fragile is probably the best word.
I think so, and I think that very much reflected the way that I felt at the time as well. And I felt like everything was new to me. And I didn't really know what was going on. I knew about this project, but also then it would be a tough one to tackle. And that's what I found fascinating about that. And then that was pretty much. But then that's what I enjoyed about that. But I mean, obviously we detracted slightly from the point. But I think what we wanted to, it was that idea of how depression actually disappears the second you realise what it is, or when you reach a point where you can say, no, actually, I'm going to have low days, that's fine, but let's find a way out. The second I feel it, let's do everything possible to get out of it, because you can stop it early.
Yeah, I think there's definitely. I guess I'm about two minds about it. In that, yeah, you can definitely improve how you feel, but there's part of it that is just your brain's a bit fucked, so you don't have like the happy chemicals coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely seem to find that sometimes I get a bit manic and I'm like, oh, this is the best idea ever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like doing so much drawing, I'm taking so many photos, everything's so cool, and then it's almost like you have a come down from that. It's like I've kind of I've exhausted myself out. I've like done too much, and I'm just like, oh, like I need to like hibernate and hide away.
Yeah, there is that point where it's almost like, it's just too good to be true, isn't it? Everything's happening at once, and then all of a sudden, it's like your phone goes off, messages everywhere, like new people coming in, all of a sudden, silence for like 2 weeks. You're just like, what? Well, where's everyone gone? What? It was perfect, like yesterday.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, but nothing's happened. But your mentality's maybe changed, and like something, maybe you've done something. Maybe instead of going to the pub or something, you went back home, and then something happened, and you then spiraled in, and then that can then cause a whole month of depression.
Yeah, it all just like
it's so
spirals. But
yeah, but I mean that obviously we think about that. I mean, we're looking at images of death and stuff like that. I think it's more becoming aware of life, and
yeah, there's an aspect of it that's like, I guess, being aware of death makes you able to live more, because you know, if you're aware that time is limited, you want to do the most you can.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm someone who's quite driven, I guess, like art-wise. Like I can positively make things anyway because I really enjoy it. But also, there's that thing of like, I just want to make as much as I can. I want to do all my ideas. I want to make sure that I don't like forget to do everything. So, and with art anyway, it's like if I died tomorrow, it's like I did the best I could till then. If you know what I mean. Like there's that whole thing of like I've got all this time. I can do whatever I want with it. I want to do it as best I can, and just do as much fun stuff as much as possible. Essentially.
Definitely. All right, and that definitely comes through, because even if you look at my route at the moment, you've got loads of Ben Gore t-shirts in there, pretty much 60% Ben Gore t-shirts, stickers on the mirror. I haven't got your Pokemon cards yet, but I will.
I should have brought some. With you.
But yeah, I mean, we can. But that's the thing. You're doing it, and that's what really. I think that's what. If anyone says your name, for example, because Brighton's a small place. If you think about it, like, and the second your name comes up, everyone's just like, sick, yeah. Or like, oh, was that a Blue Monday Press T-shirt? That's what Doyle said to me the first time he saw me, and so it's just like, without knowing it, you've correct. Well, maybe I think you are aware of it as well, but you don't. You've just made this creative community, and you've pushed people into doing things that they wouldn't always think of doing as well, and you've inspired lots of people within this small community, which can then go to a very large part out into London. It's like you're building the perfect base, and I think, yeah, I mean, the way you work is admirable, but also I think you work really hard at getting your work out there to the right people. As you said, you wrote 67 emails. Yeah, that's a lot. Not everyone does that. I have not sent any. I got an email sent to me, and I haven't even replied to it yet, and that's been a month. You know, so it's like you're doing a lot.
Oh, thanks, man. But yeah, all that stuff. That's so lovely to hear. That's what I like. That's what I want to do. And with all the Blue Monday stuff, it's like with all the t-shirts, it's been essentially trying to like. I don't know what's to call arty people, either from real life or like the internet. And I think when you're first starting out as like trying to be an artist, trying to get things made, you have to figure a lot of stuff out on your own. Like it's a pretty slow process. And with the t-shirts anyway, it was a case of like with everyone I've done so far, it's been a completely different artist. Like I've paid them what I could for the design, and I've always tried to like. Their name will be featured whenever I put it up online, essentially for sale. And it's that thing of like, I've got to a place where I've been doing it for a while, so I've learned some stuff about how I can make a bit of money and do some arty stuff. And like, there's loads of people I see around me who I know, like a lot of people I know are way better than me at a lot of stuff. Like I know a lot of illustrators who are way sicker than me at drawing, and a lot of photographers who are sicker than me at taking photos. But they haven't made as much physical stuff as me. Like people take sick photos or do sick drawings, but a lot of people, some people just leave it there. And yeah, that's like the best thing you could have said. Like all I want to do is see. Like I want to make my own stuff, and I also want to like buy the stuff my mates make. Like, because I know so many sick people. Like your stuff is really good. I was going to mention, we might come to it in a minute, but like that Hulk Hogan project you were doing where...
It's on the way.
Yeah. But essentially it's all about sad Hulk Hogan and this weird little backstory. But I thought it was really cool. And like, yeah, loads of my friends shoot good photos and draw good pictures. And I just want to I want to just keep making stuff and just get bigger each time. And like with your favourite rapper, like the exhibition that I put on as Blue Monday Press in April, like I really like doing collaborative shows and collaborative zines, because essentially, I mean, I've got like a small following as Blue Monday Press, I guess, but it's just I want to share the stuff that I like. That's the whole thing of Blue Monday Press. Like obviously, I like my own work, so I get to put that out as Blue Monday Press.
Exactly. You got to.
But it's also like, I want to give everyone, through doing a collab scene or something, you get to do a shout out to like all the people you like. And yeah, it's just, I want to see more people making stuff, because art is cool, and art is fun, and
everyone should be able to do it.
Yeah, everyone can do
it any way they want.
Everyone's got their own skills, but everyone can do art stuff. Like anything from sculpture to drawing to illustration. Like I've been playing around with collage recently, which is really fun. there's so many things, but obviously music as well. But I don't really. I'm like. I have like a very musical brain, so that's something that just completely eludes me. But there's lots of different things you can do creatively that. There's so many things to choose from that anyone can do anything, essentially.
Definitely, yeah.
And like you've been getting really into music as well recently.
Yeah.
Which is really cool to see.
Well, it's interesting how that linked to the depression as well, because that got me out of a hole. I made a whole EP about depression, and then I listened to that album, and that got me out of it, because I remembered how I felt back then. I had a thought a while back actually, about you were saying that you put a lot of content out there. It's kind of a question, but also a compliment at the same time, because I really want to say it. So, Matt Martin must have had quite a big influence, obviously, because you live with him and you set up.
Oh, definitely. Like I never lived with him. Basically, I told him I wanted to move to Brighton, and he just moved out of this house, and someone else was moving out shortly after him, and he said basically, "Do you want this room?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Fuck yeah, fucking sick."
Yeah. 2 minutes, like 30 seconds from work.
Yeah, 30 seconds from work.
It's still late. That's amazing.
I mean, it is impressive that I managed to do that, and for like a year, but we won't go into that too much. But yeah, well, he's been a fucking massive influence. So all the photocopy club stuff he did, where like a DIY exhibition, you just send him photocopies of your prints, and then he essentially takes over a gallery and basically wallpapers them. So I just thought that was fucking sick. It was like all off his own back. He could involve a shitload of different people. It was super cheap to do, and also the photocopying thing kind of put everyone on the same page. Mm-hmm. Excuse the pun. Mm-hmm. But
well, everyone was on the same level. Every picture wasn't, this is on a gloss paper, this is on that. It was just everyone was almost, I'm not going to say reduced to black and white, but it was. But yeah, it was forced to be black and white.
Yeah, you were forced to like limit yourself to that essentially. So fucking a world-class photographer could be next to just like some dude who bought an SLR last year. Like that was kind of the magic of it. That like everyone is on the same level in this space. Like you can't make yourself too fancy. So I thought it was fucking sick. And then there was also, so in my house, the house was pretty central in Brighton. Mm-hmm. So he set up a thing called B-Rad Gallery, which was basically, he used the hallway of his house as like a mini gallery and like a little shop. Mm. So he'd do like little shows in there, and if he was in, he'd just do like a little Facebook update saying, "Oh, like come by, I'll be open in the shop all day." And I thought that was sick. So he essentially got to use this house that he was paying rent for anyway, that he lived in, also with his own like personal gallery and shop. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was just like fucking genius, to be honest. So when I moved in, I like got his permission to take that over myself, and I did a few shows in there. Mm-hmm. And that really got me excited on like that you could just do your own show. Like it's like you've just got to figure out all the steps to do something, and then follow those through, and then you've got a fucking exhibition. Like to do that, he'd already had that. So I already had the space, which was in my house. Mm-hmm. All I had to do was get stuff to put on the walls, and then invite people, and hope people came.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a simple, like, all that stuff, the steps themselves can be a bit tricky, but when you break stuff down into that, and you realise that when you're doing it in like a DIY way, any way you can find is still somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so his ethos, and like, he obviously makes a lot of zines as well, but just seeing everything he'd been doing just got me really excited to do more stuff myself. And because I knew him, I could always talk to him about stuff like that as well if I wanted. And also, I think it's when you know there's someone like you look up to a bit, but you actually know them. Instead of, you don't really put them on a pedestal. You know they're sick at what they do, and you're like, that's amazing what you've been doing. But it kind of normalised it for you. You know, like a person like you could do this thing. Yeah.
Well, that's that's something. I mean, I came up with this when I looked at it, when I was thinking about it. Is it's almost like, you know how Kanye met Jay-Z. So, for example, Jay-Z was out there doing his thing, right? Kanye's there making his stuff, and then Kanye makes Jay-Z, and all of a sudden he makes that Big Brother song, and it's just like yeah, but I get the feeling that it's a similar relationship in that Matt was organising the photocopy club, and then you were Kanye going, mate, what are you up to? And we're going to look at that and being like, well, I know you, so it's like, let's just get involved. And it was just a natural collaboration. And that's how I get, and then it's almost like you've gone off and just gone, and you've just produced Jesus. You know what I mean? But obviously, I'm not going to bring the connotations of Kanye West and that, because we don't have the attitude of him, but it was more the model, was just almost like, you've both gone and done that, and then you would then collaborate in the future as you are with Doom Gallery.
Yeah, definitely. Like the new show is going to be at Doom Gallery.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Goodbye Blue Monday the Goodbye Blue Monday show
Mm-hmm.
launches at Doom Gallery on the 21st of July, and that's the gallery that Matt runs, which is really sick. With the hip hop thing, it's definitely kind of like that. Like, I mean, it wasn't literally like I was his apprentice, but I was definitely looking at what he was doing and being very impressed by it, and essentially wanting to do the same. But with the hip hop stuff as well, like that kind of, for me anyway, because I grew up listening to hip hop, that relates a lot to like the DIY stuff. So even like Daydream Mixtape being called Daydream Mixtape is like how like rappers release a mixtape to like hype up their album in the future. You like give people like a little taste. That's kind of how I still kind of see zines that way.
Yeah.
That like it's like a smaller project, not as big a thing, but it's like a little taster of this thing you're working on, and like you can sell it cheaply, you can send it out for free, you can trade with people. But it's like this physical thing. It's like instead of just like a rapper just releasing songs, having like a whole mixtape, it's something that's more, you can talk about it more. You can be like, oh, this project as a whole.
Yeah.
And also the hip hop stuff of like you've got a proper like you've got to hustle to get good, which is like that whole I sent 67 emails or whatever on Monday. That whole thing of like it's not gonna, like, you've got to earn it. You've got to like work up from the bottom, and how, I mean, it's not the same, but how rappers, like the classic rapper story of like being a drug dealer, working your way up in the drug game while working your way up in the rap game, and then rap starts to pay the bills enough for you to just be a rapper. Like arty wise, it was kind of, for me, that was like working a 9 to 5 while working on your art stuff, and then hopefully your art stuff's going to pay off enough for you to just be an artist. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of like the duality of like you're doing this thing for money, but you want to be in this other place doing this other thing, and like to be able to not do the thing you don't like as much anymore, and to follow your love, you've got to like do both, but like work really hard at both, so you've got the money to invest in your side project while you're still hustling at your main thing, I think. Definitely.
I mean, I think, I think with, I think with art in general, it's very much a balance, isn't it? I mean, I think basically the way I see it is I go to work and I try and make as much stuff during work, maybe just little notes or just listening to music or listening to certain beats and having a little thing. I've written so many songs at work just because I've had a little thought and I just keep writing, or I just I'm going to go to the toilet and just write on my phone for like 10 minutes and be like, oh, sorry. But in that instance, the second it's 5:30, then I'm so tired at 5:25. Second it's 5:30, boom, right, what are we doing? And instantly I'm like, right, this is the time when I've got anything to do. So now I go home and I just literally I just do everything. Like I was making a beat just before I came back out. And just because I was like, well, I know how to do it now, so I'll quickly make one up. And it was just like, and for me, like, I'm just obsessed with making. That's all I want to do. I want to be 89 years old and just still making. I don't want to just sit there and be like, oh, that was a nice life. But no, how do I feel about this life? Well, I'm going to go for a walk and I'm going to take some pictures. You know, I'm going to make a zine when I'm 90. Why not? What's stopping me? And that's the thing. But what also is the battle is that with photography, it's very much like you can get disheartened quite easily within the photography world. And I think the photography world is a whole different thing that we could discuss, actually, because there's so much about it. But you can get completely consumed by the photography world, and it can eat you up, consume you, can knock your confidence. And that's what happened. But then I think taking a break from photography, and I actually wrote an article called Goodbye Photography, and when I put it up, everyone was like really sad, and they were just like, don't give up, man. I'm just like, I felt like, whoa, actually, I was just saying I'm going to leave it alone for a bit. But it was this overwhelming response. I was like, okay, well, that's good, but then I still haven't gone back into photography in the same way. I'm now using my D800. I haven't shot film for ages, and I don't really feel that the urge to shoot anything at the moment. When Berlin, maybe I think Berlin's when it's gonna kick off. I'm gonna use my camera all the time, but at the moment, Brighton is just this beautiful place where I can just like sit here and just my room, look out at the i360, and just like make music, scan, draw, edit, write, anything. Anything is possible now, and that's because of Brighton. And I remember the first time I ever came down to Brighton, and actually we were at your grip tape exhibition, and that's when I bumped into Elise. I keep saying her name wrong. Is it?
Eloise.
Eloise, yeah, Eloise. And because I saw what she did in her board, and then she designed the Lupina logo, and it's just like that instantly. I came to Brighton, came with an idea, and all of a sudden I had this big thing. And now when I look back at it now, 2 years later, I've upgraded to a different thing, and all of a sudden it's just like, whoa, that took a lot of work, and I just had no idea how much work it took. But the thing, what I like about it is that it's been painful at times, it's been hard work, it's been stressful, and I've had to work really hard just to be able to keep doing what I want to do. It means jobs I'm not that happy with, and I've put up with a lot of rubbish that I don't really want to be up to. And I've put my career on the line. When you think about it, I'm not going to get a mortgage now until I'm 40. I'm not going to own a car for another 20 years probably nowadays. But I don't mind. I think I wrote an article about how much I've given up so much to be a photographer, but it was all worth it. But now it's worth it now in the long run, because now I'm not just a photographer, and actually it's when you begin to realise I'm an artist, and not in a pretentious way, but we're an artist, and we're all artists. When we were kids, we were drawing Simpsons characters.
Yeah, it's just that some people stop basically, and with photography. I found anyway with me, you can make a project pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Not necessarily you might take photos for a while, but then actually putting it together is fairly quick. But it gives you, obviously it doesn't teach you how to draw or anything, but it gives you the tools to know how you plan something, do it, finish it, and then release it however. And I felt like I learned photography a lot quicker, so it gave me, I knew that I could learn something. I knew that I could learn a skill by just doing it a lot, and that's kind of because I do a lot of drawing as well. That's how I've been approaching drawing. I know I quite like what I draw at the moment, but I also know it could be better, and it's I'm enjoying the process of getting better. I'm enjoying, as long as you're enjoying what you're doing now, there's that awareness that okay, well in a year I might be 20% better, and that'd be really cool as well. But I really like what I'm doing now, so it's all good.
Yeah. It's definitely. I mean, I think this just I've been so happy just because I'm surrounded by art, and my mum doesn't understand it. She's confused. She's just but she understands I'm not taking a normal route. But it does definitely feel like we're it's like we're almost weird because we just do
it's
whatever
definitely,
we want.
it's quite a weird, especially with drawing. It's quite a weird thing to want to just sit on your own and draw pictures. It's quite a strange, and also it's I mean, for me, it's an urge. Sometimes I just I have to sit down and write down ideas. I have to sit down and draw, and it's weird that that's an urge, but it's so fun, I guess. And I was going to say as well, going back to the thing you said about Brighton, coming down seeing Grip Thumb, it being all arty. I had the same thing when I came down and saw, before I moved in, when I looked at the room, came down and saw Matt had set B-Rad up amazingly, and just wandering through the lanes when I first got here, there was that magic of it's all this arty, weird stuff, and the Brighton art scene as well. I found there's a lot of artists, but it takes a while to kind of get to know everyone. Everyone's in their own little circles, but they kind of intermingle now and then. But yeah, there's so many creative, amazing people here. And
it's usually people you don't expect as well, people that you just meet at work, and all of a sudden they're Greg, he's a wicked illustrator, but he just doesn't put it out there, and that's the thing. And a lot of it's hidden, actually, it's a hidden art scene. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. But it also it re-emerges a lot, and people are always excited by it. But yeah, I know I think people also you enjoy making stuff, but then you're a bit nervous about putting it out there. It's kind of the thing with a lot of artists, especially promoting your own work is quite weird, and I'm still kind of figuring out how I do that myself. But yeah, because it's you do a thing, it's like, oh, I really want to do a drawing. It's like, oh, I like that drawing.
Mm.
But you don't want to be like, hey, hey, everyone, I did this amazing drawing, look at it, it's really cool.
Mm.
So there's like that thing of being like, oh, I just wanted to, like, I kind of think about like sharing, like, you did this cool thing, it'd be cool if someone else saw it. Maybe they'll like it, maybe they'll be like, oh, that's cool.
Mm.
That's a nice picture of like a cat. I might draw a picture of a dog.
Yeah.
Like, to put it really simply.
Yeah.
But like, and there's also a lot, when you see people doing stuff at different levels, like, there's an element of like, oh, I could do that. I might enjoy doing that. Like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, you don't want to see fucking, like, super intricate art style, because you won't be like, oh, fuck, that's amazing, but I could never do that. Whereas if you see, like, a cartoon, you'd be like, oh, that's funny, and, like, quite simple. Like, I could draw something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's... Yeah. I mean, as you say, like, art for everyone. And not art in the elitist way, because I think elitism within art is the killer. Because... and over-intellectualisation of photography in general is furthering it, but it's also removing that childlike element. And it's like, not everyone needs that childlike element, but for me, photography is it's a childlike response. It's not because it's childish, but it's very much just like, it's a response, and it's an emotional response. And like, even if you look at these riot pictures now, you can understand the feeling and emotions that you were going through in that situation, and obviously, like, where we are, obviously this is very different to stuff that you now do, I was just looking through now the different ones that you've got there, because then this is Fried Brains. That's very much the same, similar feeling as Daydream Mixtape, in that you've got kind of the pairings that you've been working on. So the pairings must be something you've been working at for a long time.
Yeah, so I love books and art books and photography books, and that's how I like seeing stuff. Like, I really like going to galleries and stuff, and it's a different experience, but for me there's something about books, like, holding a book in your hands is kind of just you and the book. In a gallery it's you and whoever else is there kind of experiencing stuff at the same time, and you might not be able to go at the pace you want, or like get as close to the images as you want, whereas you can hold a book and like go through it on your own pace. And also, I'm someone who likes collecting stuff. I mean, especially books, like kind of records, kind of comics a little bit. But I really like... Do you know what I mean? If you see something really cool in a gallery, like, it's unlikely you're going to be able to afford that print, but you're going to be able to afford that book to be able to take home, and then you can read it whenever you want. It's not like you've got with a gallery show, you go to the gallery and it's on for, a week, and then it's never going to be on in that same place again, and if you didn't get the book or whatever, you might not be able to see those pictures besides, like, online. So, yeah. Books, like, the spread, essentially, having 2 pages, 2 photos next to each other, is something I've always thought about, because it's, that turning of a page in a book and seeing, like, double page spread.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Well, yeah, and if I think, like, I think that I think just that the projects are just going to keep evolving, really, as your life's evolving. But the nice thing is, like, you can respond in any way. So your next one might be a combination of illustrations. It could just be illustrations. You don't know. That's the thing. I mean, but I get the feeling when it comes to the photography side of things, I get the feeling it's just like, it's going to keep on going, and it's been going on for such a long time. You just keep making stuff, and you're going to keep making stuff. And that's, if you look at that famous Wolfgang Tillmans, he's such a great example of someone who just does anything. Like, he has, like, darkroom prints, but also he's very open and honest about his life, and that's what you're doing here as well. You're being honest about it. I mean, even then, I see this picture here. I don't want to hover over it too much, because obviously I don't know if it's sensitive, but for me that's such a powerful picture, because it's like, I couldn't even imagine how that picture even came about, and how I would feel about that picture if I had that. But you put it in there, and you put it on there, and it must be cathartic to know you've got these sorts of images, these memories that will always sort of protect you almost. It's almost they're little protections that you've made, but the little creations that you've made as well. They're like, and even actually I've just noticed this, the way it bleeds in there. That's pretty insane. Like the way that line.
Yeah, I like. Well, I mean, it's all the way I lay stuff out is a bit. It's all anarchy, but it is seeing how two photos work together.
Mm.
And there's a lot of like looking at similar colours or yeah, but it's I really like that. And also there's also this line at the bottom that's pretty similar.
Yeah, it's starting to match up, isn't it? Well, yeah, because that matches up very weirdly, but then the hand jolts it. But then this is it's very bizarre. It's almost like he's drawing him. So and then it's almost taken on a collage element, which we haven't really touched on, but I get the feeling that's like something we could go into a lot. Lots of different people as well that would be useful to look at as well. Actually, I didn't think about this, but yeah. This is Daniel Shires. He's one of my closest friends. He made a series. Oh, which one? This one.
I mean, there's a collage thing at the top. I don't know if that's.
Oh yes, yeah. So this is his graduation project. So he walked around underpasses, like big bridges and stuff like that, and he wanted to try and get a sense of the surroundings around them, and also the people that navigate them. So he was very much, and these areas aren't. I mean, they're not beautiful areas. They're just it's the motorway. But he kind of made this kind of strange beauty out of them. But it's very photographic. It's all photographic. He just cuts up prints and overlays them and stuff like that.
It's interesting the way he's used there's a lot of triangles and the grass and the concrete. Like the nature and artificial. It's interesting.
It's definitely like, I mean, and this is something he actually made that. So I think he photographed the floor and then printed it out and put it back on again. And I think once this worked to some degree, but I don't think that worked as well. But then something like this, where he actually physically printed it off and then put it underground and then put it back, it feels like this is the way that photography can actually interact with the area around it. And that's something that Sam's been doing a lot as well. Have you seen Sam's new stuff?
I've seen glimpses of some stuff, but he's very secretive, so...
He took rocks it was in Sardinia, and he photographed the landscape, and then where he'd take a perfect amount of rocks, and then he took them all out. It was a perfect line. He photographed that, and then from the picture he then moved the rocks that were taken out of the picture and moved them into the gallery space. So he put them all at exactly the same.
Oh, okay.
So he technically moved that into the gallery space, and then you get that sense of transcending into this weird world because of big prints and that. That was really quite fascinating.
Yeah, that's really clever. Like the space of the photo, like leaking into the real world, essentially. And
it's the way that it's almost performative in the way that it's been put together, and that's something that I never thought I'd see Sam be doing, because he's a photographer, isn't he? He's done painting as well. He's been a painter for a bit. I don't know. I don't think he's got anything on his website, but
no, I think he said to me he's saving it for. He's doing a show, I think. October.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's got a few.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it because I could tell I can tell you everything about all of these projects, and I was actually in one of these. I was here when he took these pictures. This one here, I was stood behind him, and I can tell you he literally that was an hour-long exposure, and he would take 2 of every picture. So I think he worked on these for hours and hours and hours. I'm trying to think which ones I was actually there for. This one, and it's pitch black. There's nothing. There's no light at all. And this one is like, and then this was like the security guards, and they kept on looking at us. But it's just, I think the thing with Sam's work is that it's patient, and it's perfection, like in terms of the way he's striving for perfection, and that's just, and obviously he's very unique. I don't think many photographers would. Well, lots of photographers work like this, but I couldn't work like this. For example,
I can either. I like the snapshot and run almost, and his is like scouting locations, creeping in at night, hang about for at least 2 hours to shoot 2 photos.
Yeah.
And fucking, I guess having his fingers crossed they come out right. But it's like the photos he's done are like, they're just amazing. They're super surreal. These just fucking massive concrete skeletons coming out of the landscape.
And it's interesting seeing how his work's evolved as well. Like, it's very much an organic process. So he started off, I think, trying to think what he first started off doing. I think Room 26, when he just went round and stayed in hotels and collected basically bodily hair and all this sort of stuff and brought it all under the microscope, because his dad's a scientist that influenced his practice. And he's got about 500 of these. And they're all JPEGs from a 5D Mark II or something, but it's like a super microscope. But then he's done, every image of here is another layer, so there's like 7 pictures in that picture, because that's how you have to build the image up. So it's just, I mean, but then if you think I think that's the thing. I mean, Sam's like a beast, isn't he? And he's just like, it's weird, isn't it? He's almost scary.
Yeah,
how
the way
good he gets.
Well, yeah, he's very much about the actual process of taking a photo. There's loads of steps for him taking a photo. Like he's always got to put himself somewhere. It's not, he won't just wander across something he's going to photograph. He's got to find the place. He's got to kind of know, especially with the cameras he uses, he's got to know what he's looking for and what he's looking at. Compose it and then be like, okay, I fitted everything in that I wanted to. It all looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Although he's guessing what it's going to look like, I guess. And yeah, he's very, the way he does stuff is one big long process.
And and when it's finished, it's finished. You know what I mean? It's like finished to the last dot, really. But what's quite interesting about his new work, which he's very secretive about, we can't really, well, we can talk about it, but we can't really mention much.
There'll be no like sneak glimpses when we try and do this video for this podcast.
Yeah, definitely. I'll try and get like a little release in or something. That'd be well good.
And we can always just put like a big question mark over the frame.
Where is the new work, Sam? It's been 2 years. But yeah, no, I think that's the fascinating thing with Sam, is he's just very like motivated, but his ideas are completely opposite to me, for example. But he gets my work and I get his work. To some degree. I mean, I wouldn't say his work's my favourite work, but I love it completely. So, for example, it's like saying his work is like the finest coffee in the world, but I don't drink coffee. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, he would really appreciate that because he fucking loves coffee.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. It's not your taste, but like his is the sickest.
Yeah.
So it's so sick that you appreciate it pretty much.
Well, definitely, and it's like admire it as well. Like, but it's also, I can then look at his practice and go, okay, well, how can I start picking up little things about how he does things? And then even if I did try to implement that, it wouldn't work, because my process is my process, and my process has stopped me from getting out to be a famous photographer or well known, because my work's so personal. It's hard for anyone galleries to jump on board with it, because like, well, it could just be a mishmash.
Oh, dude, there's a lot of things in that though. Like, it takes a long time to get in a fancy gallery. I haven't done that. Like,
yeah.
But also, it's not. I don't think it's the personal aspect. It's just like your stuff's still relatable. There was that series you did. It was kind of like discarded. You think you went on a road trip or something. It was like discarded objects you found. So I remember there being like 2 coffee cups, like at an empty table.
Oh yeah, company.
Yeah, and that's really like that's quite intimate, and that's quite. It seems quite personal as well. It's definitely personal. You can see your personal view of things through those photos. Yeah, and they're still like, don't put yourself down by saying my stuff's personal so it can get seen. Like, this stuff is fucking sick, and it's very relatable. Like, that's the key thing with doing personal projects. People need to be able to like relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is definitely like super relatable. It's all about like, I don't know, it's like intimacy, but you photographed it as like intimacy between objects, and I guess you being an observer to that intimacy. I think the project's really good. Like, I really like it.
Oh, thank you. It was a weird one, this project, because it's now led me into my performance pieces, because the idea behind it was about company. So I was out in a trip in America for like 2 weeks. We travelled from LA to Denver, gradually over time, and I just photographed that. So a lot of stuff was in Las Vegas and Colorado and all over places. Was in the middle, like kind of snowy areas. But it was what I noticed with this project, because I was looking for company, or how people use company, but I was looking for an object. So obviously then I wasn't interacting with people, and my interactions with people were almost on the cuff of not being me, because I was interacting with people I wouldn't want to interact with to try and get the research that I needed. And that's something that I didn't particularly enjoy, and I felt that my life was being put on hold because of this project, because it was the most important thing in my life. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to go to Kiev, so I photographed in Kiev. And then I said, right, now I'm going to go to, and then I started putting other images in as well that kind of reflect the intimacy, and then these little flashes of kind of what's going on, but then it's anonymous, and obviously then picking up on feelings. But what was, I think, the most interesting part about this project is the little anecdotes that I made up. So I like the idea of speaking to myself. We'll speak about what was going through in a story mode. So they're like he said, she said, they said. So removing context. So for example, he'd spent so much time daydreaming about the idea of sweeping off her feet again, taking our 2 kids and moving to Italy, but he decided against it. So that's about me. That's about my first love. And like a year later, I was like, well, I could still get her, couldn't I? I could. She's had 2 kids. It's all right. She hasn't had 3. I could have a third. It's like, because that's what love does. And then all of these things. It's like, and then quite explicit stuff. Well, not really, but like, it's like, I'm ready, he says, and she opens her mouth. He lays back a few moments after, out of breath, tired, weary, in a kind of delirious state. She then takes a photograph. Everyone looks better after sex, she says. And that was just, I mean, that was a situation that I was in, but then I just wanted to take me out of the equation. So that's quite interesting, and this was almost like an effort to try and actually say, well, I do personal work, but I want this project to be about, I don't know, just about...
Yeah, well, it seems, with this anyway, it seems like you've done a personal project, but as if it was written from a third person.
Yeah.
Like, you're kind of, through doing it through objects and stuff, and the way you've written the text that comes with it as well, is like you're watching what's happened from like an outside perspective. Like you're in the situation with this other person,
Mm-hmm.
but then you're also watching it from a distance, and that's how you've like told the story, which is really interesting. Especially with photography, when there's that thing that obviously the photographer's in the scene. By taking a photo, that photographer's got to be there, and you've done that. Like, you're obviously in the scenes, but by writing in the third person, you're like, it's like almost through glass. You've put this distance between you and the subject.
And that could actually be reflected in the way the pictures feel as well, because I'm emotionally involved, but I'm detached. So I know what I'm looking for. So by the end of the day, but by the end of the project, when I was photographing in Kiev, I knew exactly what I needed to finish the project off, and it needed these. So for example, this is obviously Val and his girlfriend in Kiev, and I took this. It was 40th of a second at 3.5, and I took it thinking it's the most perfect picture, but I don't think it's going to come out. When it came back out, I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, it looks really good, and you've got his girlfriend laying down, they're holding hands, and then his eyes like looking straight at you.
It's like he's happy, he's complete, he's found it. This is life. That's what it says to me. And that is when the project just booms and just goes right. And when I took that, I was like, I don't need to take any more pictures, I think I've done it. I think I spoke to Sam and showed him the Kiev edit. He said, actually, sack off all of these, just use the Kiev stuff. But what I did is I wanted to bring it all together. And then I brought my own and then actually I've extended it actually. So for example, this is my friend Luke. So I was accidentally photographing the process of him falling in love with the 2 of my best friends. So these 2 here, and this is when we were in Las Vegas, so I just took it on my phone. So it was on the same time I was making the work as well, all of the America stuff. And then, as the project was going on, that's Esther.
Oh yeah.
That was there like 5 years ago, because I came down to Brighton for the Photo Fringe when Martin Parr was in it, 2010, and she was there, and that's the first time I met her. It was these little moments that were just like fascinating, like these little things that instantly then gave the project personality and heart and warmth, but also reflected my position. So I was the lonely dog sat in the car, observing all of my friends being happy and being in relationships, thinking, is it ever going to happen? And then at that point, I think this project then felt like it needed to be finished for my own sanity, because I think, for example, I spent so much time investing time and looking and observing at the happiness of others. I was ignoring my own happiness, and actually I completely forgot about my own personal problems that I've been putting away for a long time. So instantly my work completely changed, and it then meant that I almost spent myself on this project photographically, and then I'm just like, I don't know what else to do now. So this is why I put images like this in, and this was the last proper serious project picture I took, and that was when I told that girl that was like, what's going on? You've invited me down here, what's going on? And she was stood there, I was stood there, and then she was just like, it was dark as well, pitch black, and she just said, oh, I thought nothing was going on. Like, well, hold on, you brought me down here. So it was like, but then I took that picture, I didn't edit it, it stayed exactly the same, and I was just like, that's the end of it. That's when it died. And that's the death of mentality.
Okay, so yeah, I guess it's essentially it was your road to what you thought would be. Yeah, the whole project's like a road to what you thought would be kind of like, I guess almost like a fairy tale ending.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was the polar opposite. I'll explain context for people listening.
Oh yeah.
Just because Alex told me the story there, I'll condense it super quick.
Definitely.
But basically, he went to visit a girl who was interested, who he thought was interested in him as well, I guess romantically.
Well, for 2 years we were going on and off doing things, but nothing was concrete.
Yeah, and so he went to see her a long way away, like 6 hours on the train. So a big trip, and kind of hoping stuff would happen. And they said the first night, nothing really happened. She had a friend staying over, who was staying in her bed, so they couldn't really hang out in that way. And the second night, he was like, okay, like, it was a bit rocky on the first night, but I guess she had a friend come around, everything's going to be different this night. And then she was very mean to him, and she essentially invited someone else round to spend time with her while Alex was still there.
But it was
putting it quite diplomatically.
Yeah.
But yeah. So now you've explained that backstory to me. That's really interesting. Like seeing essentially your journey from looking at objects intimately to then people intimately, being kind of an outsider to both, and also reflecting on yourself. Reflecting on your own experience, I guess, from a third person. And then finally building up to this one moment that I guess kind of flopped.
Well, yeah, but it was a relief, because I almost didn't want it to happen. I even said to her ages ago, I was like, it won't happen and it can't happen because it's not going to work. And she was like, well, maybe, I don't know. She was dallying around about it. But this, for me, technically it's a rubbish picture, but it's my favourite picture I've ever taken, because for me, I actually had to scramble around to get memory on my phone. I had to delete 4 pictures. I just stood in the same place for ages because I'm not missing this. Took the picture and then I couldn't take another picture. But for me, that's like better than any picture I've ever taken, just because it's a reaction, and that is basically that was the nail in the coffin for my ideas about romance and how I'm meant to be pursuing those sorts of things, and actually thinking, well, okay, I've got all these sorts of things going on in my life. I'm going to keep busy, and when the next thing comes along, if it's right, like Joe was mentioning today, he's like he asked the girl, like, will you be my like,
I think he said, are you my girlfriend?
Yeah,
that's what he said.
Or like, do I have a girlfriend now?
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Do I have a girlfriend now? And
that's the way that love should be. It shouldn't be this game that you play, or like, I really want to go out with you, and then they say, well, no. That's not the way it works. It's like, and so that's now my mentality's completely changed, and like, if I go on a date with someone, for example, which I now do more often because I'm just much more happy in myself.
I think it's also you put less pressure on it when you've had you're like, oh, okay, shit, that fucking sucked. When it comes to anything like that, and then you're like, but was it that bad? Nah. And were they worth it? Nah. Like there's better people out there. Yeah. So it's nice to hear that you've taken it positively. Like that's cool.
Well, definitely, and that's if I didn't have art, then I wouldn't have been able to reach that conclusion. And again, like if you think like if I didn't have music, for example, like there's the Kindness EP, which is sorry, what's it called? Grey EP. So 6 tracks, and we worked on this, and there's a song 2 years, and that song is about that. Have you heard it? I don't know if you heard it.
I might have done. Maybe we'll
yeah, it wouldn't work in that
play.
instance, but we could have a link to it. But that song is basically saying, I actually say that. As I think I talk about that picture. So imagine this picture now. That last one we were just talking about. This one here. It goes basically. I say, oh shit. It's here somewhere.
There you go.
So it's like, the line was, I didn't even cry when the moment hit. I know that she was full of shit. And he goes, I don't mean that. That's just the sadness talking. Now you got me walking. Where's Monday? Looking for Tuesday. Met this girl on Wednesday. We were in bed by Thursday. In bed by Sunday. All that kind of stuff. And it's like, just talking really, nothing like that at all. And that's exactly how the song went. I know too much. I've listened to too much. But for me, the combination of music, photography and iPhone picture memories was just basically just like, right, okay, well, music got me out of depression. Photography helped along the way. And basically, art isn't a career for me. Art is a way of life. And I will never stop being an artist because I can't be anything else. I'm useless in every other context. Like at work, I can get by, but I'm still useless.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I'm kind of the same. Like one of those, like I can work hard, I guess, but there's a point where I'm just like, I can't be fucked with this anymore. Like I just want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I was like all my reports when I was at school were like, yeah, Ben's a good student when he wants to be. Like, when he likes the thing, he'll work really hard. But if he doesn't like it, he just won't. And that's kind of how I think with art. Like, I fucking love making stuff. So it's like, oh, I'm going to work so hard on this and try so hard. But there's other stuff where it's just like, fuck, I just can't be fucking bothered. Like, I want to be making stuff. And, like, it's almost like you don't want to waste your brain power and stuff. It's not that. Well, definitely, and that's why you can look at a job like, and let's say where I work at the moment, where we both worked, it's pretty safe, really. If you think about it, it's pretty nice. But when we look at it, we go, but I don't want to be there. Yeah. And you still wanting to be there, and that's bizarre because it's technically we weren't artists, that'd be the best job in the world. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, when I left it, I was a bit. I wanted to do my art stuff, and art was going pretty good for me, so I wanted to go part-time, but it wouldn't really work for the company, so I wasn't able to do that. So I left then. But, yeah, everyone that works there is really lovely, and it's a nice company, they do a good thing. Definitely. But yeah, it was just that thing where it is very much work, and there wasn't much. Like, it didn't need to be you doing it. Yeah. I had no... Obviously, I was doing the job, so the job got done, and I was doing it. But anyone could have done the job, and it wasn't like... You had a creative spin on it. Yeah, I wasn't giving anything to that job, and it... I mean, the pictures, maybe. You can make... my pictures are off the charts. They're incredible. The best pictures, well, not the best in the land, but I like them. I take pride in my pictures, because that's the only thing you can really take pride in that position. Yeah, well, just to explain, if anyone's still listening, fucking like an hour or so in, she wants to rambling about stuff. The job is basically a camera company who sells second-hand cameras, and what I used to do and what Alex does now is he's in the checking department, so he'll check their work and then he'll take a photo of the camera to put on their website to be sold, essentially. Yeah.
That's
so
pretty much it in a nutshell.
essentially, you do get to you're taking photos, and they're all going to be slightly different, but you're also there's like a structure you've got to abide by to get those photos up.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, and nothing really. They don't want you to deviate from that what you're doing because, because that's not their protocol. Which is naturally, obviously, from a business perspective, why would you want anyone to do any differently? But that's why I find it quite interesting because photography actually started to come into the work position where I photographed. Did I show you these? I photographed all of the members at MPB.
Yeah.
I've shown you many times, but like. That was quite interesting because instantly I was like, alright, okay, I'll get the 5DS out, 85 Mark II, shove a flash gun on, and I had to be quick. I had to do it in between my work, and they were all working at the time. And then that was when Chris did it. There was some weird light. We can get the same setting, but it was bizarre because instantly I felt like, right, I could be a professional photographer. Well, not professional.
Definitely. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, there's definitely when you take nice photos and you're like, yeah, I can do this. I think also you'd kind of forgotten that you could take photos because you hadn't done it in a while.
It's been ages.
So there's definitely the element of like, I can still do this. Like it's like riding a bike. Like, I still got it.
You never forget as well. Like that's the thing. Photography never leaves you. I've always been a believer that photography is always there, because photography got me out of Basingstoke. If I didn't do photography, I'd probably be doing business studies in Southampton University. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, that sounds so depressing.
And then I would have just been spent every night in Revs, and I'd be...
I'll just say quickly, sorry to anyone who lives in Southampton and does business studies, but I think there's more fun things you could be doing.
Definitely.
But I don't know Southampton very well for the record, so...
I mean, it's alright, 20 minutes from Basingstoke, it's not too bad.
Is that a highlight though? Is that?
We did actually go for a big night in Southampton. That was pretty big.
I don't want to get dissed by anyone from Southampton.
They're pretty hard over there. Yeah. Big up the Southampton Massive, whoever they are. But no, it was weird because it was a weird position where like I was like I in my mind I was like I should be being paid for this, but I don't mind because it's different from my day to day. But I did it for my commercial thing, but. Even like the running the Instagram as well. Well, not running it, but taking pictures of actually just going in. Oh god, I'm doing it on the work website.
So you've been taking photos for the work Instagram?
Yeah, well, not as much anymore because we've got a backlog and I get told off. But I do have the potential to do it as and when. I'm not the go-to person now, so that's quite good. So if they need a picture and they've got time, then I do it for them.
Yeah, nice. Well, it's good to know there is like there's some arty bits. Like when I was there, me and James Perrells, who's now he's living in Berlin and fucking smashing the photography game. You should check his photography out. We're gonna put 1,000 links and probably like 50,000 photos in this. If you're still listening, good job.
Go to bed.
Me and him did a very short-lived series called MPB TV, where we interviewed photographers. I think we only did 2 in the end. We did Matt Martin and Kenny McCracken. That was really fun to do. But it was one of those things where it was really fun to do, but it didn't. Just purely from like a money perspective, from like a business perspective for the company, it didn't really do anything for them. So it wasn't worth them letting us do it because we did one of them during the workday as well.
Oh, okay. So they lost out a little bit.
Yeah, they essentially lost out our productivity for a bit, and they didn't. It was meant to be like an advertising tool, like kind of hype up and like shine a light on Brighton-based photographers, but it didn't really work, and people didn't really enjoy it that much. Yeah. But it was fun to make. But
these are things you can put on your CV because I suppose that's the thing. I mean, I don't really think. Obviously, you need to build a CV, but it's more your creative CV. But so just so you can prove to yourself that you can do it. That's the important thing. Because that's the thing. I did some photographs with my friend Luke Boland. You should actually look at his work as well. I'm trying to think. Luke Boland. He's my best friend from university. He's still one of my best friends. He's the man.
He's not Luke Boland, the football player, which is who we're looking at right now, but we'll find him. Okay, sick.
What's interesting is I'm his only web presence, and it was an article I did about 3 years ago. But and I'm pretty much in all of his pictures besides all the Spanish pictures anyway, because we used to go out to Spain like 3 times a year or something like that. And he works on these projects for ages. So I was there when he took this, and the police came and we had to like run off and stuff like that because we had to stand on the bridge for this one. It's just like his stuff. It's 5.4, but it's going to be better than this. The quality's not great, but the prints are huge. And he's just so meticulous about everything.
Yeah, they're really nicely composed photos. And there's a lot going on in them, but they're still quite simple. It's really cool.
But like this one, he literally spent 3 hours scouting the place and stood there on a rock with the camera, to the point where no one really didn't pick up it anymore. And he just stood there and just waited for the moment, and he could just be there like with just a cigarette in his hand, just smoking it, and be like, oh, sweet, ready to go. But he was tireless. And like this one, we were staying in the apartments over here, and there was a big there, and there was just golf courses. But he was just waiting for this man. He was looking at this man, and every element he'd been thinking, I want to take a picture from this angle, and he thought about everything. And just this man in the middle, when it's printed big, he's wearing a blue t-shirt and he's just stood there. You can zoom right into that.
That's sick.
And and this one as well. It's funny actually, because this is Sierra Nevada when we went up to Spain, and this is like he does snowboarding and stuff as well, and skiing. But I think mainly snowboarding. But we just trudged around me and Sam. We can't ski or snowboard. But he went all the way up there, took a couple of pictures, and then this was from the clubhouse. And he took this picture. I've got one there just to piss him off. I took one next to it because I was 6'7", so it was small. I just said that as a little joke or something. But then he's just got like, I don't know. That was just like, and just, I'd look at it and just go, that's insane.
Yeah, it's an amazing photo.
But it's just he's capable of so many things. He's very much like Sam as well, like in that way. But he's very different. Yeah, I mean that was like this article. It might be worth having a look actually. I don't know. It's probably rubbish.
I mean, we'll add another link in.
Definitely, but I mean,
there's going to be
a lot.
So many references.
I mean, this is the new IMDb website. If you're curious, it's pretty good.
I mean, I'm not that curious. Shall we try and wrap up? Do you reckon?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Okay, so so obviously highlighting back to Goodbye Blue Monday. So I mean, obviously it's for pre-order.
Yeah, I've put it up for pre-order on Blue Monday Press.
Okay, so we can, and it's £12.
Yeah, but you can also get, I think, let me double check. You can also get a book and an A4 print for only £20.
Okay.
And also, I'm making special badges for all the pre-orders. So if you pre-order the book, then you'll get a special little handmade badge with one of my photos on. So it's a little treat for you.
Definitely. Well,
yeah.
That's definitely. I mean, and is this funding the book to be made, or is it already made? And it's to
I'm going to be making the book, but I thought I'd put a pre-order up so
you can kind of get.
If there's a really big response, I'll get more made. But it's more you can essentially give me some more money to pump into the exhibition if you pre-order.
Okay.
And the book will go out just after the show, so you'll be one of the first people to get it. You'll be one of the first people to get it if you pre-order, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So get them quickly while they're still hot.
Get them while they're hot. It feels like a radio station almost, doesn't it? I feel like I'm, Hot 97.
Yeah, we're just like that. That's kind of how I guess that's how we're trying to do it. Yeah, hopefully you'll do more of these because it's been quite fun chatting.
I the whole time I'm thinking actually I want to do these every week. Or even just get loads of different people in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's
so big.
Your Lapina podcast, so you can do what you want. I'm just first guest.
Well, I had no idea I was even doing a podcast, so that's pretty good. It worked out. Obviously, I knew we were doing it, but I didn't realise it would be a thing. I was just like, I would try it and see. But actually, it works.
Yeah, dude, it's been fun. Well, I mean, we have to listen to it and see what happens. But okay, we'll say goodbye to anyone who might be listening now.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening if you did, I guess.
Enjoy your Wednesday morning blues.
I mean, it depends when this goes.
Exactly. But it's Wednesday tomorrow. It's Wednesday now, actually.
So we recorded this on, I guess it's very early Wednesday now.
Yeah, 15th of June, 2016.
But yeah,
represent.
Thanks for listening. I hope you liked the stuff we talked about. Hopefully you'll hear Alex doing some more. And yeah. I've been Ben Gore.
Yeah. I'm Alexander Norton. You stay classy, Brighton.
Yeah. See you later.
Adios. How long was that?